Hi, I'm Paul Tomes, founder of Tributes 2, and I help funeral directors master big business thinking and technology to help improve the experience of their client families, their staff, increase their income, and importantly, protect their legacy. Today I'm going to talk to you about how I discovered that the internet was driving customers away from my dad's funeral business. I'm going to show you how misaligned his business was portrayed online versus the professional, caring, established image that he holds on the high street. Now, you probably think that these things were the same. Now, I thought the internet would project the same trust, the same care and attention, the same pride that my dad's client families have experienced over decades. Now, growing up, I always remember my dad's shiny and spotless vehicle fleet, the welcoming funeral home and the warm, approachable staff for whom no details were ever too small. Now, whilst it's taken months to repair some of the damage that the companies like have done to my dad's business, we have finally turned the corner, and now I want to share my experience with you. I want to share what I learned, what I did, and so you can start to take the same steps. If I'm successful, you will realise, like my dad, that you can no longer afford to be passive about the internet. Even with a traditional business like funeral directing, you can't ignore the massive social and technological trends we've all experienced over the last 10 to 15 years. My one hope is that you do something, and I'm going to make it easy for you. I'm going to tell you what you can do today. Now, this realisation, this fire inside of me, my commitment to help you, all started to ignite when my dad gave me that call. My dad's basically been a funeral director since the day he was born. My granddad, Harry, originally founded the business soon after he returned from the war. My dad grew up in the funeral home. He was born in the funeral home. He started to work for him when he was just 12 years old, and then full-time from 15 years old. Now, sadly, my granddad passed away when my dad was just 22, and along with his brothers, he's built on my granddad's legacy to make it the company it is today. I'm sure my granddad would be very proud. Anyway, my dad gives me a call and says, "Paul, just been called by this internet company to see if we're interested in developing our Harry Tomes funeral director's website. He wants £2,000 for it. What do you reckon?" Now, at the time, I was working in a big bank, basically helping people to make products, processes, and technology more efficient and customer focused. One of the things I did was help design and implement the internet bank for HSBC. And over the last 20 years, I've had the pleasure of working for big companies with big technology teams all over the world. So I guess my dad felt he was very well placed to ask my opinion. Now, more recently, I'd even set up a number of websites myself, even including one for my consulting business. So I thought, oh, okay, hey, maybe I can help Dad with this. Maybe I can help him out. So I said to him, "Let me help you, Dad. Let me check it out, Dad." So I started checking out what my dad's business had online already. I basically went into Google, as most people do, and I typed in Harry Tomes Limited. And I'll be honest, I found a complete mess. The image didn't marry up at all with how caring I knew my dad and his staff were. The collections of site didn't project the professionalism I know my dad's company has. The results did not show a cohesive, trustworthy company. For example, I found had put together half a dozen mini sites for Harry Tomes Limited. Some of them my dad had paid for, some were free supposedly, offering the value-added service for the ads they pay for. Value add? Well, you tell me if this is value add. The front page said, "Get funeral directors here," in a horrible disco-like background type of thing. Completely inappropriate and distasteful for a funeral director. There was some short blurb and a traditional ad about my company, my dad's company, and then there was a phone number I didn't even recognise. So I tried this phone number, didn't go anywhere. So as you can imagine, I was pretty shocked. I immediately called up and I asked them to take the page down, and they said they didn't even know it existed. They said those things were just an automatic site. They would try their best to remove it, and then they'd call me back. Try their best? What? I think it actually ended up taking 5 weeks to get it removed. Now, as you can imagine, 20 years in a corporate business meant I was pretty good at raising my voice. So, gritting my teeth, I politely asked them about the telephone number, and I eventually got the answer that this was a call counter, so they could track the success of their website. Yeah, tracking their website, not my dad. So I asked why it hadn't been forwarding to my dad's business, and they said the package expired in July. Now, this was September when I was asking these questions. they'd forgotten to turn the site off. My suspicion is they didn't even know it was there anymore. And more importantly, no one had informed my dad until I actually presented this to him. So I had a lot of back and forth on this. Bottom line, they took my dad's money, promised him a value-added service, and basically destroyed value of my dad's business. Even when I found out about it, it took ages to unwind. Now, not only would the site probably have put people off by "Get funeral directors here," it also meant that if people did decide to call the number, they would not have got through for 3 months. Now, additionally important, because search engines like Google trust directory authorities like Yellow Pages, they had picked up this dead number and cascaded it down to their own directory sites. Because there were 6 different pages, each with similar but slightly conflicting content, Google gets confused. It sees 6 small independent businesses. Now, if search engines can't match stuff, your position in their search engines and search results drops. Now, I am going to talk a bit more about the Google 7-pack and search engines and what you can do in the next video, but Harry's Homes Limited was no longer on the first page when you typed Bournemouth funeral directors, even though they were one of the bigger, more established funeral directors in Bournemouth. Now, when my dad told me how much he is paying other people to take care of his internet presence, I was absolutely shocked. So you tell me, was my dad really getting value-added services? And how about you? I for one dread to think how much business was lost by people calling that disconnected number. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, well, no big deal, because no one really goes to the internet to find funeral directors. Our business is all about customer referrals. And of course, there's still a large proportion of business that my dad gets because of referrals, or the same families coming back to them, or people simply living close to the funeral home. But the world is changing, and it's changing very quickly. Just think of your own behaviours. What do you do when you want to find an electrician or a window repairman or a service you may not be using often or not familiar with? What do you do? A recent survey showed that over 80% of people these days start their funeral planning online. Now combine this with 2011 data that 92% of people use Google as their primary search tool. I was getting very worried about my grandfather's legacy. Okay, so I knew I had to fix the internet for my dad's business, not just about pretty brochureware, website, or trusting someone else to take care of it. I knew I had to do that. Now, I started to explore a little bit further. Now, let me tell you about another shocking discovery. Obituaries. Okay, well, what about obituaries? Well, I'm guessing if you're anything like my dad, about 60% of your families choose to write and publish an obituary in the newspaper. You probably even help them with this as part of your service. You might feel the stress of getting to the newspaper before the deadline. You might have to help shave words off so the obituary doesn't cost too much for the family. And if ever you've had to correct an obituary after it's gone to print, then I know the frustration. It needs to be perfect, and that takes time and causes stress. That said, you know that your family value writing obituaries and having those obituaries read by others. We know that openly acknowledging a death is an important part of the grieving process. Okay, so what have obituaries got to do with the online image of my dad's business? Well, you may or may not be aware that a lot of these local newspapers also publish these obituaries online for free, all part of their value-added service, they say. Also means you don't need to worry about publishing anything online, or does it? Now here's why I do think you do need to worry. I went looking for some of my dad's obituaries in the local newspaper, on their local newspaper website, and I quickly found them. The exact wording from the printed obituary online. Fair enough. But it felt kind of strange because on the same page as the obituary, slashed right across the obituary, full width, full colour, animated advertisement for another funeral director. So while the obituary read "Arrangements by Harry's Homes Limited" in small font, there was this big green logo right across the top, drawing my attention. Now, everyone attending the funeral will remember the beautiful and attentive service provided by the funeral director, but it's likely that only the family will remember who provided that service. Now, years down the line, others may not remember the name of the company, but they may subliminally be attracted to the great big logo when they first learnt of the funeral arrangements. Boom! A competing company is benefiting off my dad's hard work and family focus. Now, whilst this may seem small and improbable, big business recognise that it's actually powerful and probable. That is why you see investing gazillions in getting their brand image in front of as many potential customers as possible. Now, this still holds true for small business, and we've seen those funeral directors in the know are already benefiting from this, and I'm sure they will be reaping dividends in years to come. Publishing content online costs, and while a newspaper will position their online obituaries as value-added service, the newspaper is really using your content to drive visitors to their site and the sites of their advertisers, which, as I discovered, includes my dad's largest competitor. Now, this doesn't just apply to newspapers. Just ask yourself, what motivates people to provide content for others to view online? You know, we're all used to a life of free internet services, but there's always a commercial motive for the people and the companies who invest in that hardware and software to publish that information. Now, Facebook is a perfect example. Why is it valued at $100 billion when we all publish stuff for free? Yeah, you can get on it for free, but behind everything there's commercial motives. Advertisers are paying big money to get to some of the 800 million active people using Facebook today. The savvier the company, the savvier they are with their online image and online advertising company, the more customers they attract. Okay, so this might all sound a bit scary, and I do want you to do something about it. But before you think you have to go and employ some high-paid technology consultant to take care of it for you, I implore you to take care of it yourself. And the great thing is, it's really pretty straightforward. You can really do it, and it won't take much time. The payoff is massive. At a high level, here's the steps that I took and that you can take too. Step 1, assess your internet presence. Even if you don't have a website, there will be dozens of references to your business. Step 2, kill or change anything that doesn't fit with your high street image. Step 3, go create your website. Now, in a couple of weeks, I'll be showing you exactly how you can get and maintain a professional looking web presence that's free to set up and maintain. Step 4, start taking advantage of the content you and your client families create on that daily basis, your obituaries. Step 5, provide your client families the ability to share their experiences and feelings. And step 6, integrate the internet into your business processes. Now, a very simple 6-step plan, and I'm going to help you with all of those, starting today. So the very first thing you must do is do what I did. Go and assess your internet presence. Go to Google or any other search engine. Start exploring. Just discover how you appear online. Search for your name, search for your business name. Search for funeral directors in your town. You know, what do you see? Go and look at the obituaries in the local newspaper website. Take notes, form a mental picture in your mind at what 80% of the people who are starting their funeral planning online see and feel. Now, over the next week, I want you to build this picture in your mind, the picture of your online image, what it looks like. Now, start assessing the gap, the differences between your image online and your high street image. That's what I want you to do this week. I really hope you enjoy this video. I hope it's added value to you. Go ahead and leave comments and feedback below. I'm going to be personally replying to as many as I can. I look forward to serving you. Watch your inbox for the next video next week at the same time. Until then, cherish your heritage, embrace the future, and take a step forward today.